on the removal from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Any comments from the board? Alderman Duchow.
I do, thank you. My first comment is actually from Alderman Tishless. He was unable to make it to tonight's meeting due to an illness, and he asked me to read a statement. So this is from Alderman Tishless. November 25th, 2014, to the Board of Aldermen, Mayor Roby, and all those in attendance at tonight's meeting. I apologize for not being able to be with you tonight, but I've been under the weather the past few days. However, I did want to relay to some comments regarding tonight's agenda item, quote, the removal of Mr. Steve Nieder from the Planning and Zoning Commission. I ask the board and all those in attendance, what is the real issue here? If we peel back the debate concerning state statutory interpretations versus our city charter over what constitutes the makeup of the Planning and Zoning Commission, isn't the matter at its root whether or not Mr. Nieder ought to be able to serve out his term as a volunteer, underlined, on behalf of the city? I would ask that you carefully think about what you're doing tonight. Put simply, I hope for its own sake, this board is not on a perilous path of taking a vote that, should it lead to a dismissal of Mr. Nieder from the P&Z Commission, and this is underlined, may engage the city in a costly legal challenge by one of its citizens over merely desiring to complete the remainder of his term of service as a volunteer, end of underline. As Mayor Roby has often stated, finding willing and dedicated volunteers in our city is often difficult. I believe this issue might have been resolved with little or no involvement by legal counsel if a meeting between the mayor and Mr. Nieder had occurred that I offered to facilitate in email correspondence sent back on October 15th. Unfortunately, I received no reply to this offer. Nearly 6 weeks has gone by. Mr. Nieder has retained an attorney at his own expense, and I know that the city has mounted considerable legal costs trying to defend the actions of the mayor and the board in this matter. In addition, it is unfortunate that as a citizen of Crestwood, Mr. Nieder has had to take the brunt of unnecessary personal attacks from the dais. I have been particularly struck over the past few weeks by the Herculean efforts, thank you, on one of our board members to find a specific legal interpretation that would thwart Mr. Nieder's desire to continue to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. This matter, in my opinion, devolved for some into something purely political and even personal. In lieu of a resolution, and given where we are currently in this matter, as board president, I encourage my colleagues to lay aside any personal or political perspectives they may have in this matter before casting a vote for removal, and instead seek to accommodate Mr. Nieder's wish to fulfill his current term. Finally, I ask that this statement be entered into the record and include, in full, that's all capitalized, in the minutes of this meeting. Best wishes to all for a happy Thanksgiving. Regards, Mike Tishless. Yep.
Did you wish to continue?
I do have some comments.
Sure.
Or initial question. So, last meeting, this agenda item was under appointments. It was under reports, presentations, communications, and appointments. This meeting, this item is under public hearings. So I'd like to understand first why it's on the agenda labeled as it is, really in the language that it is, continuing to remove Mr. Nieder, and also the reason for the change from the appointment section to the public hearing section. So if either the mayor or the city attorney would like to field that question.
Go ahead.
It really could have gone in either places today for this agenda. When I saw a copy of it, it was under public hearings, and that is appropriate, so that was okay with me.
So as a follow-up, what does it mean that it's under public hearing? Is it,
I don't think it
removing?
means anything more than it did last time, because a public hearing doesn't have a definition per se. You guys have this agenda with a public hearing section, there's no guidance on what that is or what goes there. So I don't think it means it's not treating anything different. A public hearing is an opportunity, just like last month, Mr. Nieder is gonna have the opportunity to address you all and give you all his position, which is the same as happened last time.
Okay, it just seemed a little bit different, that with the mayor's letter, if I can find it, talking about, let's see if I have it here. The mayor's letter of November 19, 2014. The end of the first paragraph, it says, "The cause for your removal was stated in my prior letter dated October 20th, 2014. So are we, if the board decides to remove, do we have to remove for cause? That's where I'm confused. It seems to be a little bit different than the last time.
It shouldn't, it's not any different than the last time, other than the place that it's on your agenda.
Okay, so the for cause,
No, that hasn't changed. I mean, it is, and maybe we should let Mr. Nieder's attorney speak, but it is our position, it is my position as the city,
your position, yes.
my position, that the position of being on the Planning and Zoning Commission is an appointed office. And as you know, under the code then, the appointed officers may be removed by the mayor at will and without cause with the consent of a majority of all members elected to the Board of Aldermen.
And as far as the appointed position, how do you justify that compared to a judge or another appointed position of the city?
And I'm only, I mean, I want to answer your questions, but also, I don't want to say anything from a legal standpoint that's going to put the city at risk either. And appointed officer, as far as I'm concerned, is one who is appointed, which members of the commission are.
Okay. I personally disagree that he is.
I know, we've had this, I understand that you
Okay.
disagree, and you're.
That's all I have for now, thank you.
Alderman Vincent.
In the 2 letters that you sent out to everybody who was currently serving on a board or commission after you took the seat as mayor, you asked all of them to reply and to fill out the volunteer form on the website, right?
To update, yes.
And since we haven't heard back from Mr. Nieder, you don't have that volunteer form, do you?
No.
So we could or we could not assume that the answer to the question, do you have a conflict of interest with this city, is yes or no. Okay, we don't have the form, right?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Alderman Duchamp.
Based on a comment that Alderman Vincent just made, I have a comment, and that is a Board of Aldermen, which I was serving on in 2011, appointed Mr. Nieder to the Planning and Zoning and Architectural Review Commission for a 4-year term. At that time, everything was in order.
Well, at this time he has a lawyer, so I could assume there might be a conflict of general sentiment of this board and this city with his intent. That's the reason I asked the question. I'm not making a judgment, I'm just saying we don't know what his intent is.
His intent is to stay on the board, and I believe he is still a member of the board. I was making a point that the Board of Aldermen appointed him as a member of the board. The mayor does not have the authority to remove a member of that board, period. Thank you.
Alderman Walker, if you'll yield to, I'd like to have Mr. Nieder or his attorney approach the podium and respond if you'd like.
Sure. Ron Fuentes, I was here the last time in October on behalf of Mr. Nieder. And our position remains the same. I mean, this is a finite point of law, if it be whether His Honor has the authority to remove Mr. Nieder from the board without cause, or whether under state statute, which is our position that supersedes the ordinances of the city of Crestwood, would require some cause in a hearing for that purpose. And it's my understanding that from council, you received the opinion that section 89.330.2 of the Missouri statutes in its last clause that states where the and this is going back to 1963 when this statute was enacted by the state of Missouri for planning and zoning commissions that may have existed or not existed for cities at that time. A planning and zoning commission would be instated, and if one had existed prior to that time, it would remain as it had existed prior to October 13th, 1963, unless the council, which in this case is the Board of Aldermen, would decide otherwise, or if it were a charter city, the charter city where the provisions of the charter shall apply. And it's my belief that the city of Crestwood did not become a charter city until 1995 or 96, and a planning, zoning, architectural review commission was not established in Crestwood until 1989. So this last clause of section 89.330.2 of the revised statutes of Missouri would not apply. Admittedly, there's no case law interpreting that, and council can have different interpretations of that law. But I believe that 89.320, the section just preceding that in the Missouri statute, still applies for the establishment of a planning and zoning commission by a city, and that members of those commissions, once appointed, cannot be removed except for cause. And it's my understanding that His Honor has not stated any cause for removal of Mr. Nieder. It's just that there are too many citizen at large members of the commission, and he has chosen to remove Mr. Nieder for that reason. And there's been no explanation why he chose Mr. Nieder over one of the other three existing members of that commission. So it's still our position that action by the council, the Board of Aldermen, to remove Mr. Nieder without cause is a violation of state law, and the state statute supersedes the ordinances and the charter of the city of Crestwood.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Watt?
Yeah, thank you. No disrespect to your opinion. Again, I'm going to have to really rely on legal counsel's opinion, because I think what you indicated was section 89.330. I think that's a fine distinction. That really defines what this charter city is. And that's why I feel strongly that the city, pursuant to the charter, has certain subsections. It has the outline of the commissions. which includes the planning, zoning, and all our other commissions, which is an administrative structure. Again, as has been recommended by council, again, we do not agree with your position. Now, having said that, back in 2011, back to Alderman Duchow, and again, I apologize to the citizens. I did not do my due diligence back then. Back in 2011, there was already greater than 3 at-large members. I voted in favor of Mr. Nieder. And again, I want to go on the record and apologize to the citizens. I did not do my due diligence to review the ordinances that were in play. And so, again, I just want to go on record. Thank you.
I'd just like to say that, first of all, Alderman Wallach, I don't feel that any member of this board, including yourself, have any reason to take any responsibility for this. This was my decision. It was a decision that was not taken lightly. It was not a decision that was made out of just rash decision. There was absolutely nothing political involved in this. When I took office, there were no files on any of the members. And I basically, under the charter, have the right, have the authority to request reports from all boards and commissions with the exception of the city attorney or the city judge, municipal judge. So I sent letters out to everyone asking them to please update their information and send it back to me. In the letter, I indicated if I didn't hear back from you, I would assume that you were no longer interested in serving on the board. And there were several people who did not respond, who were removed without any repercussions. There were also several people who had moved from the city that did not respond and had to be replaced. So it was nothing personal with regards to Mr. Nieder. It was a failure to communicate and something maybe that I'm taking from the standpoint of the number of times I attempted to contact him, first by letter, then with 2 courtesy phone calls to his residence, none of which received any response. So at that point in time, I had no other option but to consider the fact that he was no longer interested in serving. I had boards that had to be filled in order to be able to operate. So in doing so, I basically made new appointments to provide those boards with the quality of people that were required under our code, maybe not under the state statute, but under our code, which I was following. And so that's basically the explanation of how this all came about. If this board here tonight decides that they want to retain Mr. Nieder on the Planning and Zoning Board, I don't have a problem with that. Because as I said, it's not personal. It was simply a procedural decision. And the outcome is, if in fact the board's decision is to reappoint him or to keep him on Planning and Zoning, there are currently a full board. There is a member that I can retire, whose term has expired now, and Mr. Nieder could assume that position on the board. So I don't want the board here to feel like they are boxed into a corner and have to in any way, shape, or form support, what has transpired to date. But I do want to make it clear that it was certainly nothing personal against Mr. Nieder. It was simply a failure to communicate. So with that, are there any other questions from the board or any other questions from you?
Your Honor, please, for just a second, I'll make sure Mr. Nieder doesn't stand on his own behalf.
Okay.
Steve Nieder, 9131 Cherry Brook Lane. In response to your continued comments about you having made phone calls to my house as well as sent letters, I told you before, and I'll continue to state that I've received none of those. I've often noticed, especially the last couple of times now, that you've been abundantly cautious in making sure that I receive the letters by not only sending them by normal mail, but also sending them by registered mail, which elevates the importance of making sure that that letter gets there, which you didn't do before.
Right.
So your failure to communicate should not be my problem, and you continue to put that on me like I didn't communicate. When I actually finally did receive notification of what was going on, I did communicate. So I think you need to put that to bed and put it away.
Fine.
Thank you.
Alderman Wallach, do you have another comment?
Well, I just had a follow-up question, Mr. Nieder. Did you receive any phone calls from any of the other aldermen about your planning and zoning position and/or other positions that you were available for?
No.
Okay. None from Alderman Tishlish at all?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Alderman Stetter.
I just wanted to clarify a point. If we were to make a decision to retain Mr. Nieder on the board tonight, that would not be in filling a newly vacated position, a new four-year term. It would simply be completing the term he is currently or was currently appointed to.
Yeah, that's correct. And unfortunately, we have not had any planning and zoning meetings.
So there's been nothing to miss.
So, there really hasn't been anything that's been missed. But, yes, I do have an individual whose term has expired, who I can remove. He would have to give me the opportunity to get a letter out to that person, thanking them for their service and notifying them that they were being replaced.
And when would Mr. Nieder's term expire?
I'm not sure what that term was originally. I don't have that. I'm sorry?
September 2015.
September 2015.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Alderman Stetter, may I expand on your question?
So,
Yeah. In regards to, in regards to the meetings that have been missed, I don't know that there's been any meetings since probably July, maybe June. However, I do know that, and I'm starting to, as a board member, I keep up with those, and I do correspondence with the city, and I do know that there are several, if not 3 or 4, important items coming up on should be for the December meeting anyway.
okay,
Okay? So,
thank you.
I just thought I'd leave you with that information. Okay?
Mhm.
Thanks.
Alderman Truba.
Thanks. I can tell you there were no meetings since this whole thing started. I sit on that board as the alderman, pardon me, and there hasn't been any, there won't, the next one, as Mr. Nieder just pointed out, is in December. But I need some clarification. Are we voting tonight to put Mr. Nieder on the board to run for another 4-year term, which I think is well, I need clarification because you've got a vacancy, you're filling it with a new person then, in essence. So it would be 4 years. And I want to clarify, because I can just see a year from now, well, wait a minute, I was told that it was this and it's that, and I don't want to go through this nonsense again.
I think we are all in agreement, and I think Mr. Nieder agrees also that should the board vote against his removal tonight, he will be on the Planning and Zoning Commission until September 2015. Correct? Isn't that what you?
You asking me?
No, I mean, I'm asking you because I'm saying, I think Mr. Nieder agrees. That is my interpretation. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that is what I agree to. That's all I've been asking for from the very beginning.
But we have this vacancy, Steve, and that's what I'm thinking, is this appointment tonight in essence, since there were no meetings?
Hey,
Since
I've been
June.
on the board with you. Tom.
I know, and I'm not quarreling with you over that either. What I'm trying to say is, that's why I'm asking the way I am. Is it a 4-year term you're filling out?
It's
So you will expire in September of next year?
Right.
Okay. And I'm really sorry that you, Steve, that you've taken this from the position, and that's the way I read this, is that it's a personal issue with you on this replacement. And I'm really sorry that's the way you feel about it. And it's not. I don't see that at all. But that's your view on it. I'm sorry for you in that sense, because I don't believe it is anything personal. But I've sat with you, you've done a fine job for 2 years I've been on that committee, so I have no issue with you being back on it. I just want to make sure that we all are on the same page as to what the length of
I
it.
understand that.
Because I didn't want you to be mislead in thinking next September we are removing me for cause or whatever. That's all I have. Thank you.
much. Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Alderman Duchamp.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to receive some clarification of the question you just raised or the point you just made. The way I heard it, and I maybe just joined it towards the end there, but if we vote no, if we do not vote to remove him from the board, he is on the board until next September? Is that what you stated?
I believe the question to be put before the board is, does the board want to remove Mr. Nieder from planning and zoning? If that response is a majority no, then Mr. Nieder stays on planning and zoning board and is not removed.
So currently he is on the planning and zoning board.
You know, and this,
Well, that's the way.
we've discussed this, we have discussed this in detail about what our position is.
Who has?
We have.
No, I don't believe so.
Well-
We discussed it in one closed session, that's about it, and some emails,
Oh,
which were very unclear.
okay.
So is
I don't
Mr.
think,
Nieder on the
I think
board
you're
right now?
making, originally, no, because and this was talked about in in the mayor's letter originally to Mr. Nieder. It is assumed because of Mr. Nieder's inability, for whatever reason, to respond, the mayor believed that Mr. Nieder was no longer interested in serving on the commission and resigned, and in fact, the board went and filled his spot. So he is no longer on the commission. Mr. Nieder now has come forward and said that's not true, which is why we have recommended that the board go ahead, that the mayor go ahead and bring this to the board, bring this whole removal to the board, in order to give the board as a whole the opportunity to address the issue, and also to give Mr. Nieder the opportunity to express his opinion, as well as the mayor to express his opinion. So that's why we're here now.
Okay, and then you just stated if the board does not vote to remove Mr. Nieder from the Planning, Zoning, and Architectural Review Board, then he
Well, then
remains on the board until September 15th.
If you want,
That's what you said. Is that correct or incorrect? I mean, this is really confusing because that's a
Then he
logical
will
argument that
be-
you're,
Then he will be replaced on the planning and zoning.
I don't
board.
think-
that's not what she said. That's what you're saying.
I don't know if it matters. I'll ask Mr. Quintus if it matters. I mean, the point of the matter is, Mr. Nieder would like to be on until September 2015. So the board has the option of either consenting to that or not consenting to it. And I don't think we're gonna get in an argument over how it works or what was going on. If the board does not agree, then, if the board says, fine, he can be on the commission until 2015, then we're all on the same page. So I don't understand why it has to be made an issue when I don't think it is an issue. But I would like to hear Mr. Quintus talk about it.
Correct, Ms. Stump. I don't believe it's an issue. I believe that it's been our position that Mr. Nieder has been suspended from the board, and there haven't been any meetings during this period of time, so he hasn't missed anything, pending the mayor's consultation with the Board of Aldermen and their approval to remove him from the board. And we're here this evening asking that he not be removed from the board and that he be allowed to serve the remainder of his term until September 2015.
Alderman Tishus, did you have a question? I'm sorry, Alderman Tishus. Sorry.
I'm the old one.
Yeah, very.
Well, it continues to be my opinion that Mr. Nieder absented himself from service on planning and zoning by not responding to the letters which he did receive, or the phone calls, or the subsequent invitation by the mayor graciously inviting him to serve on another committee. Therefore, since it's also my opinion and understanding from our attorney that our city is standing on good ground behind the mayor's actions, I would move that we put this to rest and endorse the mayor's actions according to the charter and his good intentions, and remove Mr. Nieder from the Planning and Zoning Board.
I'll second. If that was the motion.
And I have a comment, thank you.
Alderman Duchamp, did you have another comment, sir?
I do not, I do not have a comment.
Okay, sir. Alderman Statter?
Thank you. Here, hang on my button. I'm just stating for the record so that the board knows where I stand. I don't think the mayor did anything incorrectly. Just for the record too, I find it extraordinarily difficult to believe that every single other board member got this letter and Mr. Nieder did not. I find it difficult to believe, not to say it's not impossible, but that said, we're only talking about a term that's going to run until September 2015. We don't want to potentially put the city at risk of additional court costs or lawyers' fees. Based on that, I would be supportive of retaining Mr. Nieder in office to fill out his existing 4-year term, should the vote come up. Thank you.
Can we oppose it then?
We already have a motion, correct?
Okay, all right, so Alderman Vincent made a motion to remove Mr. Nieder. Do we have a,
Mr. Walker.
and Alderman Wallach seconded that? Do we have a, all those in favor of
Removing comment?
please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I guess the light's not
No lights on and
working.
your
Yeah.
button's pushed.
I just simply wanted to say that I cannot in good faith support Mr. Nieder, as his personal credibility with me is totally diminished. Even before this current incident, he severely criticized our city administrator. He said the Spellman project was over budget, and it isn't. He said our legal services budget was overspent, and it is not currently. He has said that our mayor treated him unfairly for political reasons, and he was in no way singled out. I believe our mayor had good intentions and did not single him out. When I was unanimously endorsed by this board for this role, I pledged to my colleagues that I would defend the good name of the city. Since April, when I came on this board, I have witnessed time and time again your behaviors and your opinions, Mr. Nieder, that do not advance the agenda of our people, nor do they lift up the spirit of Crestwood or this board's sincere efforts. Thank you.
Alderman Brady.
Yeah. I've been on this board for 9 years and then sat out for maybe 6 years and came back now for the last year and a half or whatever. And I've never had a vote where I'm going to abstain because of, I just fear personal retaliation because I've seen some behaviors in the past that I'm not comfortable with, and I don't want any retaliation, so I'm abstaining from this vote. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to remove Mr. Nieder from the Planning and Zoning Board. All those in favor of removing him, say aye.
Aye.
Let's take a roll call, please.
Alderman Vincent.
Yes.
Alderman Waller.
Yes.
Alderman Statter.
No.
Alderman Green.
Abstain.
Alderman Trueblood.
No.
Alderman Boston.
No.
Alderman Duchild.
No.
You have 4 noes, 2 ayes, and 1 abstention.
Okay.
Motion.
Okay, Mr. Nieder, you will again serve on Planning and Zoning. And I would only ask that you give me a few days to notify the person you'll be replacing that they're no longer on the board as their time has expired.
Take a comment?
Please, please.
I just want to thank those of you who voted in favor of my and confidence in me. And I will continue to serve as I have diligently in the past on the Planning and Zoning Board. Look forward to serving out the rest of my tenure until September.
Can I say something to you? That was never an issue, Mr. Nieder.
What?
Your serving on the board and your performance on that board was never an issue.
I never said it was.
Okay.
I
know you said that you would continue to serve, as you just did to the board here, made that statement, and I'm concurring with that.
Okay.
Not a problem with it.
All right, thank you.
Okay? Thank you.